All right, so we're out here with this big, beautiful, warm blood future dressage horse. This is probably his 4th ride, and I have him in a snaffle, and I'm not riding him in like your typical Jeremiah Watt broken mouth snaffle. I'll show a little picture of what I'm riding in, and it just seems to set him up a little bit better for a bridle. For me, I just like it a little bit better than a broken mouth snaffle. Nothing changes. I haven't rode him this morning. Nothing changes. Toe of my foot in the stirrup, pet on him. Rein, left hand, handful of mane in my left hand, bounce. Make sure he knows I'm coming. Step up, rub on him, work that offside stirrup, pick up to stop a drift. I just picked him up. Work that offside stirrup, pat him on the butt, pick up to stop a drift. Step off, and I'll reset him. So this is his first time. I just barely put the snaffle in his mouth. So he's probably now just kind of becoming aware that he's even has something in his mouth. He's carried it during groundwork, but never with a rider on top of him. So nothing changes. Do everything incrementally. Nothing changes. The only thing that's changing, nothing big changes. The only thing that's changing is he's now carrying a snaffle bit. Pat him, jump up and down, let him know I'm coming. Step up, rub on him, work that stirrup, pat his butt, not drifting off, settle down. Find my stirrup, good boy. Now some of the things I'm going to be doing today are going to be completely opposite of my cruising exercise, if you saw that video. Cruising exercise was, if he goes to the left, I'm turning to the right. If he goes to the right, I'm turning to the left. When I first introduce something to a horse, like this snaffle bit, I'll kind of turn with them. Right now, I'm just going to ask him for some lateral flexion. Throughout this whole video, I want you guys to really, that was nice, I want you to really understand that I don't really care where he puts his head, vertical flexion wise. Just kind of hold. I'm just holding. He kind of gave a little bit, release on that. Ask him again, slowly, then I'll hold. I'll hold. There, got nice and soft. So as far as vertical flexion wise, I'm not really particular about that right now. What I care about is getting a little bit of lateral flexion. Wait for him, wait for him. Waiting for that lateral flexion, waiting for him to soften like that. So I'm trying to get my lateral flexion, and then I'm trying to get rein to foot connection. Now I have some parameters set up that I got to stay in the view of the camera. But this first little bit, get the saddle straight. This first little bit, I'm just going to kind of walk him off. And if he starts heading to the right, then I'm to the right. And I'm going to add rein, and I'm going to add leg, and we're going to go to the right. And we're going to walk on. He's kind of heading towards the right again, so I'm going to pick up that right rein, a little bit of left rein on his neck, left leg on, and I'm going to say, hey, let's go to the right. Now, we'll see how many times he turns to the right before I start asking him to go left. But I'm going to kind of work with him. I'm going to kind of take his idea and go with it. You want to go to the right? That's great. If that's the way he wants to go, I'm just going to add the rein like I normally would, add my legs like I normally would. So he'll start to associate, hey, I'm turning to the right, this rein's getting picked up, left rein's getting picked up, right rein's getting put on my neck, that right leg sliding forward. And I'm just going to kind of hold and just kind of help him turn to the left. So I'm not going to be fighting him nearly as much. We're going to the left again, pick up that left rein, look where I want to go. Right leg is up forward a little bit, and then we walk on. So I'll do that quite a bit, just kind of steering with the horse wherever he wants to go. It's a lot easier when I have the whole round pen to work in. But for the sake of the video, I'm just going to try to stay, that's better, stay where I can be seen. Leg position's very simple. Some people have position 1, position 2, position 3, whatever. If you want to move the front of the horse, you slide your leg to the front. If you want to move the back of the horse, you slide your leg to the back of the horse. If you want to ride in a neutral position, you ride with your legs in the middle between your cinches with even pressure. If you want to do lateral work, say to the right, you'll add more pressure to the middle of the horse with your left leg, and your right leg comes off. So you want to move the front of the horse, slide your leg forward. You want to move the back of the horse, slide your leg back. That's how I roll. Some life in my body, ask him to go. When you're teaching these horses to steer and rein to foot connections, don't get into a fight with them. Don't be pulling on them. Don't get mad. Don't get frustrated. Believe me, they are just as frustrated as we are. So if we bring any anger or any human emotions into it, that's just something they don't understand, and it's not going to help one bit. I'm going to hold, left leg's off, right leg's on. And as soon as he kind of gets that thought to go to the left like that, I'm going to give him some slack, 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 and then ride him on. And all I'm doing here is I'm working on my front foot connection. So when I pick up the right rein, it should be connected, eventually be connected to the right front. So move that right front, move that right front, right front, right front. And you'll notice my hand is in timing with his foot. When this right front leaves the ground, that's when I'm going to say, move it, move it. And I'll ask him and then I'll slack him. I'll ask him and then I'll slack him. So I'm not going to be pulling my horse through the turns. He gets that thought and I say, hey, that's a dang good thought. I'm going to take that thought and reward him for it. Now to the left, I'm going to ask him forward, left, left, ask him forward, left, 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 ask him forward. Now you'll hear me say ask him forward a lot. And the first few rides that I put on a horse, yes, I have some basic, very, very basic steering, mainly the hindquarter control. But I need him walking forward. I'm just holding while he's kind of thrashing that head. I need that forward motion to direct his feet. That's nice. It's a lot easier, that's nice. It's a lot easier for them to move their feet when their feet are moving and when they're off of the ground. The only time we can influence a horse to move their foot in a balanced manner is when that foot's leaving the ground. So get some life in those feet and then just start directing them. That's all it is you're just directing those feet. Now you guys can't see it because you're not sitting on top of this horse. But when I ask him, like I'm gonna ask him for a left turn here, leg off, right leg's gonna be up front a little bit, ask him to move forward. I'm gonna get walking a circle. And if I look down, I can't see his left hoof because he's placing that left hoof right here under his neck. I actually want to cause him that when I pick up a rein, that I can set his foot out, pick his foot up and set it out. We're going to the right. Every time that foot moves, that right front leaves the ground, I'm going to pick it up and say, bring it to the inside. Bring it like that, like that. So I really want him, when I pick up on that rein, I want him to step that foot I'm talking to the inside of the circle. And I mentioned not being able to see his hoof because when he's moving it to the inside and when it's connected to the rein, I can actually look down and I can physically see his foot stepping in. As the training commences, I'll ask him to step that foot even further out, maybe even underneath my foot. So that's a big thing about rein to foot connection. Is wherever that rein goes, he needs to go. Right, 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 forward, right. Even here, he's kind of over bending on me. That's all right. Right, right, walking forward, right, right. That was better. That was better. Now, for some reason, we seem to be going to the right quite a bit. So we'll ask him to go to the left and we'll work on that left. He's thinking about blowing out. Good sounds. Start working on that left foot to left rein connection. So left, left, ask him forward, left, left, ask him forward. See, he's kind of thinking disengage. I want him to start thinking forward, engaging. Left, forward. Keep asking him. He won't step that front out unless he's engaged. If that hind end's disengaged and he's just kind of spinning that hind end, he's never going to set that left front out for me. So I got to keep that engaged. Left. There he goes. I saw it. Forward, 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 forward. And you can look down. I'm looking down. Forward, 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 forward. There's a little try. Good. And I'll reward these little tries. If he moves that foot 2 inches more to the right or 2 inches more to the left, then I'm gaining ground, and I'll start rewarding that. I got to reward those little pieces before I start asking for a bunch. He doesn't even understand what I'm asking. I'm just kind of piecing it all together. I got a curtain in front of my saddle horn. I don't care what he's doing about his head. Forward. Just seeing if he'll follow this fill. Like that. That's good. That's good. And then ask him forward. Nice. So now I am kind of steering him around. So when I start to say left, he ought to go left. His nose ought to follow my reins, and his feet ought to follow his nose. Better. Forward. Better. Forward. One more. That was better. That was better. So that's a little bit about connecting the front feet to your reins. My right reins connected to the right front, left reins connected to the left front. And then my right reins connected to my left hind, my left reins connected to the right hind. Very simple. Don't be thinking too much about that stuff. If I want his hips to roll to the left, then I will pick up on my right rein. My right leg will go back. Bring my right rein kind of to my left shoulder. I got some hips. There. Good. But that time there, so I'm already getting a little bit more particular. So even there, yes, he was giving me his hips, but he was kind of throwing his head a little bit. So I just kind of held that pressure, kept asking him for that hindquarter yield until he kind of softened in my hands. So now I want his hips to go to the right. Right rein's going to come, left rein's going to come up to my right shoulder. Left leg back. Ask him for those hips. And then walk on. Good. Steer his front end to the right. Nice. Hope you guys saw that foot go to the right. Right rein, left shoulder, right leg back. There's my hindquarters. You're not going to see me very often when I'm doing these hindquarter yields. You're not going to see me very often really cranking on a horse's head. I'm not going to ask him to overbend. If I ask him to overbend, then yes, he might give me his hips, but he's going to be way out of balance. So I would much rather use my reins to get my flexion. Okay, use my reins to get my flexion, and then I really want my horse operating not only off of my left leg, but seeking my right leg. And what I mean by that is if I apply my left leg, my right leg's going. Pick up for a stop here. If I want my horse to go to the left and I'm pushing with the right, I have to take my left leg off. I have to make an opening for him to go into. And same thing going to the right. If I have pressure with my left leg, I gotta make a void with my right leg for the horse to go into. So they're kind of hunting that release. They're seeking that release. So even here, I'm gonna ask him for his hips, and I'm gonna take my right leg and kind of point my heel out here, make a nice big void, and say, hey, can you fill that void with your hips? Thank you. Left leg off, right leg back. Can you fill that void with your hips? So pretty soon, instead of my horse moving off of pressure, he's going to be kind of filling a void and saying, can I fill that void with my body? If that makes any sense. A different way to look at things. There's a million ways to do things, a million different ways to look at them. That is a way to look at them. So now we're doing pretty good. Follow that nose to the left. Good step with the left, ask him forward. And the reason I ask him forward quite a bit is to get that hind end engaged, to get him moving out. Right front, front. Right. I want a little bit more with that right front. That's better. Now I'll help him rock his weight back. Left rein's gonna say, rock your weight back. Right rein's gonna say, bring your right front to the right. And I'm just gonna hold, I'm just gonna wait. I'm not gonna get jerking on his face. I'm not gonna be yanking and janking. That's all him right there. He backed up, reward that. I'll ask him again, shift that weight back in my body, weight back in his body. Stepped out with that right front. Good. But I don't start that right off the bat. I start the motion, keep them moving. They seem to make more sense of it that way. And the head thing, he'll figure that out. If I worry about the feet, he'll worry about his head. Later on in the training, I can start to move his head and kind of put his head or his face wherever I want it to. Very nice turn there. But in the beginning stages, I just want those feet. Pick up, weight back, open up that right rein. Just wait for him. I'm waiting for the weight. Because here's the thing, very nice. Even though he kind of thrashed in his head, he gave him that right front. Here's the thing about waiting for the weight. I cannot move this horse, what, 1,200 pound horse? 1,000 pound horse, whatever. I cannot move his front feet when there is all of his weight or 60% of his weight on the front end. So I have to wait, give him time to shift his weight back to the haunches, lighten the forehand, and then I can move those feet. So I'm waiting. He says, what in the world are we doing today? Well, today's graduation day, big guy. There. I waited for the weight came back, that right front became weightless, and I was able to move it. So don't get in a rush, wait for the weight. Once again, I'm doing everything to the right again for some reason this morning. Must be opposite day. So now I'll go to the left, hold. My weight's back, my heels are dropped, my seat's kind of light. If you're a roper, you'll know the dally position where you kind of have the weight in your stirrups, your seat's light, and you're taking your dallies. That's kind of the position that I'm in right now. I'm kind of waiting, unweighting that back. So he can back up, okay? Waiting. Not pulling. Don't get into a pulling match. I'm waiting for him to say, man, this isn't quite right. How do I get out of this bind? By shifting your weight back, buddy. That's how you get out of that bind. Now that time he had a bunch of trouble shifting that weight back, so I didn't ask him for his left front. I just rewarded that simple weight shift to the back. So if he's really struggling with something, I'll just kind of wait, break down what I'm doing a little bit more, and just kind of wait and say, okay, well, that was that. Waiting. He's got his pasture buddy out there kind of calling. There's some weight back. Still waiting. There's his weight back. Now a little cautionary tell about this. I'm still holding it because I want to step back. Hit right fronts in the ground. A little cautionary tell. I'm trying to think and work and talk at the same time. Doesn't always work. Okay, so right there, I'll take those hips away. So he was bracing pretty good on those hind feet. And he wasn't thinking about engaging that hind end and backing up. So I took his hips away. If a horse is ever thinking, there. If a horse is ever thinking, getting back to what I was trying to say before. If a horse is ever thinking about rearing, if a horse is ever really stuck in the backup, I'm not going to pull, okay? There's a good chance you can pull that horse over on top of you. That's not a good thing to have happen, especially on a Friday. And you also, if you're just holding and they're not really getting it, well then you can take a rein, ask him for his hips, say, hey, let's get some life in those hips. Let's disengage, quit locking those hips up on me. Free those hips up, quit thinking about your buddy, and then give me a backup. So you can unlock their hips that way too. And I guess that's just kind of a feel and experience type thing. But I'm not going to sit there necessarily and wait all day, especially if he's kind of thrashing that head around and getting some ill thoughts. Then I'll take those hips away, get life in the hips, and then the backup turns in. Kind of like that. So unlock those hips, say, hey, I'm talking to the hips, talking to your hind end, engage that hind end, give me a backup. So now we're gonna go back to the left foot exercise where I'm gonna rock his weight back. Let him finish his business here. All right, good boy. I'm gonna rock my weight back, get in that dally position, rock his, that was good. Rock that weight back, good. Now that I have a backup somewhat established, then maybe, and it's kind of a crapshoot sometimes, maybe I can ask, maybe I can ask him for that left front when it starts leaving the ground. But you'll never get the feet if they're weighted. So you have to wait for the weight to shift so that you can unweight the foot you're trying to move. So that's a little video on rein to foot connection, about how I would ride a horse for the first time in a snaffle bit. This is very typical. That head throwing stuff is very typical. Just introducing something new. He doesn't really know what the heck we're talking about, and that's all part of the education process. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned something. Please remember to subscribe. I appreciate all y'all's views and likes and comments and everything. I couldn't do this without you guys. Y'all have a great weekend, and I'll see you later.